Marcus Johnson was having the worst day of his life. First, he had overslept and missed an important job interview. Then, his car wouldn't start, and he had to spend money he didn't have on an Uber. Now, he was sitting alone in a coffee shop, wondering how he would pay next month's rent. Marcus was usually a kind and thoughtful person. He volunteered at the local community center on weekends, helping kids learn basketball. He called his mother every Sunday without fail. He was the first to offer help when friends needed it. But today, something inside him felt broken. "Another coffee?" asked the barista, a young woman with a friendly smile. Marcus shook his head. "Can't afford it," he said with a forced laugh. "I'm just sitting here trying to figure out my life." The barista nodded sympathetically and moved on to the next customer. Marcus stared out the window at the busy street. People walked by, talking on phones, laughing with friends, leading normal lives. It made him feel even more alone. After an hour of scrolling through job listings on his phone, Marcus decided to leave. Maybe a walk would clear his head. He gathered his things and stepped outside into the warm afternoon sun. The sidewalk was crowded with people enjoying the beautiful day. As Marcus walked, he noticed a small, scruffy dog tied to a bike rack outside a grocery store. The dog was a mixed breed with wiry gray fur and alert ears that perked up at everyone who passed by. Marcus had never owned a pet. His apartment building didn't allow animals, and he worked too many hours to properly care for one anyway. But he usually liked dogs and would often pet them when their owners allowed it. Today, though, as he looked at this little dog wagging its tail, a strange, dark thought crossed his mind. What if he pretended to kick the dog? Not actually kick it, he would never hurt an animal, but just pretend, as a joke. Maybe it would make the people around him react. Maybe for just a moment, he wouldn't feel so invisible and powerless. Marcus knew it was wrong even as he thought it. But the terrible day had pushed him to a breaking point where his judgment was clouded. "It's just a joke," he told himself. "I won't even touch the dog." Looking around to make sure the owner wasn't watching, Marcus approached the dog. He made a quick kicking motion toward it, stopping short of making contact. The dog yelped in fear and backed away as far as its leash would allow, trembling. Immediately, Marcus felt awful. The dog was now cowering, looking at him with frightened eyes. What had he been thinking? A woman nearby gasped. "Did you see what he just did?" she said loudly to her friend. "He tried to kick that dog." Marcus raised his hands. "No, I didn't actually kick it. It was just a stupid joke." But more people were turning to look now. Some had their phones out, possibly recording. Marcus felt his face burning with shame. This day was getting worse by the minute. "What kind of person thinks scaring a defenseless animal is funny?" someone in the growing crowd asked. Just then, the grocery store doors opened, and a man walked out carrying a small bag of groceries. He was muscular, with a shaved head and intense eyes that immediately took in the situation. His frightened dog, the crowd of onlookers, and Marcus standing there looking guilty. It was Jason Statham. Jason Statham loved his dog Max. The scruffy little terrier had been a rescue, found wandering the streets after being abandoned by his previous owners. When Jason first saw Max at the shelter, the dog was thin and scared, cowering in the corner of his cage. Something about the animal's resilience despite his fear had touched Jason's heart. "This one," he had told the shelter worker. "I want to give this one a home." That was 2 years ago. Now, Max was healthy and happy, Jason's loyal companion who went almost everywhere with him. Today, they had come to this small grocery store because Jason was in town filming a movie and needed a few things for his temporary apartment. When Jason walked out and saw his dog trembling in fear, his protective instincts flared immediately. Max was a brave little dog who rarely showed fear unless he had good reason. "What's going on here?" Jason asked, his voice calm but firm. His British accent was pronounced as it often was when he was upset. The woman who had gasped earlier spoke up. "That man pretended to kick your dog," she said, pointing at Marcus. "He scared the poor thing." Jason set his groceries down and quickly moved to untie Max's leash. The dog immediately pressed against his legs, still shaking. Jason looked up at Marcus, his eyes hard. Is that true? Marcus felt like the ground might open up and swallow him. He had never thought the dog's owner would be someone famous, someone powerful. But it wouldn't have mattered if the owner had been a regular person. What he had done was still wrong. Yes, Marcus admitted, deciding honesty was his only option. But I didn't actually touch him. It was a stupid, thoughtless joke. I'm having a really bad day, and I wasn't thinking clearly. Jason's face showed no sympathy. So you thought frightening a helpless animal would make your day better? The crowd had grown larger now. Some people recognized Jason and were whispering to each other excitedly. Others were still recording with their phones. Marcus knew this moment could end up online, making his terrible day even worse. No, sir, Marcus said quietly. There's no excuse for what I did. I'm truly sorry. Jason picked up Max, cradling the small dog in his arms. You're right. There is no excuse. His voice was cold. Marcus nodded, accepting the rebuke. I understand. I'll leave now. As he turned to go, Jason called out to him. Wait. Marcus stopped, bracing himself for more anger. What's your name? Jason asked. Marcus. Marcus Johnson. Jason studied him for a moment. Why did you do it, Marcus? The truth. The crowd watched in silence as Marcus struggled to find words. I lost my job last month, he finally said. I missed an important interview today because my alarm didn't go off. My car broke down. I'm about to lose my apartment. Marcus took a deep breath. I felt invisible, like nothing I did mattered. But that's no excuse for taking it out on your dog. It was wrong, and I'm ashamed. Jason's expression softened slightly, though his eyes remained serious. You're right. It was wrong. He looked down at Max, who had calmed down somewhat and was looking up at his owner with trust. Then Jason looked back at Marcus. Meet me at the park across the street in 30 minutes, Jason said. We need to talk more about this. Without the audience. Marcus was surprised but nodded. I'll be there. As Jason walked away with Max, the crowd began to disperse, some looking disappointed that there hadn't been more drama. Marcus stood alone on the sidewalk, wondering what Jason Statham could possibly want to talk to him about. 30 minutes later, Marcus sat on a bench in the small park across from the grocery store. His hands were sweaty, and his heart was racing. He had considered not showing up, but he felt he owed it to Jason, and to the dog, to face whatever was coming. Jason arrived precisely on time, walking alone without Max. He sat down on the bench next to Marcus, leaving a respectful distance between them. I left Max at my apartment, Jason explained. He's fine now. Dogs are resilient. I'm glad, Marcus said sincerely. Again, I'm really sorry. Jason nodded but didn't immediately accept the apology. Tell me more about yourself, Marcus. What do you do? Or what did you do before losing your job? Marcus was surprised by the question but answered honestly. I was an assistant manager at a sporting goods store. Not very glamorous, but it paid the bills. I also volunteer coaching basketball for kids at the community center. You like working with kids? I do. I grew up without a father, and my basketball coach made a huge difference in my life. I'm trying to do the same for other kids. Jason seemed to be evaluating Marcus, taking his measure. So, you're not usually the kind of person who would frighten an animal for fun? No, sir. Never. Today was... I don't know. I reached a breaking point. Jason was quiet for a moment. I understand breaking points, he finally said. Everyone has them. But it's what we do after we break that defines us. Marcus nodded, feeling the truth of those words. I came to this country with nothing, Jason continued. Before the movies, before the fame, I was selling fake perfume on street corners. I know what it's like to feel invisible. Marcus looked at Jason with surprise. He had never imagined that someone so famous had struggled like that. The difference is, Jason added, I never took my frustrations out on those who couldn't defend themselves. You're right, Marcus said, looking down at his hands. I have no excuse. Jason studied him for a long moment. No, you don't. but I believe in second chances. Do you want one? Marcus looked up. What do you mean? The movie I'm working on, we need production assistants. It's long hours, hard work, and not much pay. But it's a job, and it could lead to other opportunities if you work hard. Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. You would do that for me? After what I did? Jason's face remained serious. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because I believe people deserve a chance to make things right. And because I've been where you are, feeling like the world is against you. He stood up from the bench. Be at this address tomorrow at 6 a.m., he said, handing Marcus a card. Don't be late. And Marcus? Yes. If you ever do anything to harm an animal again, this opportunity disappears. Understood. Marcus nodded solemnly. Understood. Thank you, Mr. Statham. Jason, he corrected. And don't thank me yet. Thank me by proving I made the right choice. With that, Jason walked away, leaving Marcus sitting on the bench, staring at the card in his hand and wondering if this terrible day had somehow turned into the most important day of his life. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the film set at 5:30 a.m., half an hour early. He was nervous but determined to make the most of this unexpected opportunity. The set was already busy, with crew members setting up equipment and preparing for the day's filming. Marcus approached a woman with a clipboard who looked like she might be in charge. Excuse me, he said politely. My name is Marcus Johnson. Jason Statham told me to come here for a job as a production assistant. The woman raised an eyebrow. You're the one Jason mentioned? Follow me. She led Marcus to a small trailer where a man was distributing walkie-talkies and instruction sheets to a group of young people who looked as nervous as Marcus felt. Ted, this is Marcus. Jason's recommendation, the woman said before walking away. Ted looked Marcus up and down. So you're the special case. What did you do to get on Jason's radar? Marcus swallowed hard. Nothing good. But I'm grateful for the chance, and I won't let him down. Ted seemed to appreciate the honest answer. Fair enough. Here's your walkie-talkie. You'll be on Channel 3. Your job today is to do whatever anyone asks you to do, without complaint. Got it. Got it, Marcus confirmed. And so began Marcus's first day in the film industry. He fetched coffee. He held light reflectors. He directed extras. He carried equipment. He picked up trash. By the end of the 14-hour day, every muscle in his body ached, but he felt a sense of accomplishment he hadn't felt in months. He didn't see Jason that day or the next. But on the third day, as Marcus was organizing a table of snacks for the crew, Jason appeared beside him. How's it going? Jason asked casually. Good, Marcus replied. Hard work, but good. Thank you for this opportunity. Jason nodded. Ted says you're doing well. No complaints, quick learner. Marcus felt a surge of pride at the compliment. I'm trying my best. I brought someone to meet you, Jason said, and whistled softly. Max trotted up, looking healthy and happy. He stopped a few feet from Marcus, his tail wagging cautiously. He's forgiven you, Jason said. Dogs are good that way. They don't hold grudges like people do. Marcus crouched down slowly, offering his hand for Max to sniff. The dog approached carefully, sniffed his fingers, and then allowed Marcus to gently pet his head. I'm sorry, little guy, Marcus said softly. Jason watched the interaction with approval. Come by my trailer after you finish here. I want to talk to you about something. An hour later, Marcus knocked on the door of Jason's trailer, wondering what he wanted to discuss. Jason invited him in and offered him a seat. I've been thinking, Jason said without preamble, about second chances. About how easy it is to judge someone based on their worst moment. Marcus nodded, listening carefully. The dog you frightened, Max, he was a rescue. When I found him, he had been abused and abandoned. He was afraid of everything and everyone. I didn't know that, Marcus said quietly. He got a second chance with me, Jason continued. And now he's the bravest, most loyal dog I've ever known. It made me think about the power of giving people another opportunity to show who they really are. Jason leaned forward. I have a proposition for you. There's a shelter nearby where I volunteer when I'm in town. They need help walking dogs, cleaning kennels, helping with adoptions. Would you be willing to spend your Sundays there? In addition to your job here, of course. Marcus was surprised but felt an immediate sense that this was right. Yes, absolutely. It won't be glamorous, Jason warned. It's hard work. Some of these animals have been through terrible things. They need patience and kindness. I understand, Marcus said. I want to do it. Jason smiled for the first time since they'd met. Good. Meet me there this Sunday at 8 a.m. As Marcus left the trailer, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, hope. This job, this chance to work with animals, it felt like the beginning of something important. That Sunday, Marcus arrived at the shelter at 7:45 a.m. It was a modest building with a fenced yard where dogs could play. A sign above the door read, New Beginnings Animal Shelter. Jason arrived a few minutes later, with Max trotting happily beside him. Ready? Jason asked. Marcus nodded, and they went inside together. The shelter was already busy with volunteers cleaning cages and feeding animals. A woman with gray hair and kind eyes approached them. Jason, good to see you, she said warmly. Then she looked at Marcus with curiosity. Linda, this is Marcus, Jason introduced. He's going to be volunteering with us. Linda welcomed Marcus and quickly put him to work. His first task was to clean dog kennels. Not glamorous work, but necessary. As he moved from kennel to kennel, Marcus talked softly to each dog, introducing himself, offering gentle words of encouragement. One dog, a large pit bull mix with scars on his face, growled when Marcus approached his kennel. That's Hercules, Linda explained, coming up behind him. He's been here the longest. Found in a fighting ring. He doesn't trust people, especially men. Marcus looked at the dog with sadness. Can I try something? Linda hesitated but nodded. Be careful. He's never bitten anyone here, but there's always a first time. Instead of entering the kennel, Marcus sat on the floor outside it. He didn't look directly at Hercules or make any sudden moves. He simply sat there, speaking in a low, calm voice. Hey, Hercules. I'm Marcus. I know you've been through a lot. I won't hurt you. I promise. For nearly 30 minutes, Marcus sat there, occasionally glancing at the dog, but mostly just talking quietly about random things. The weather, basketball, his new job. Gradually, Hercules stopped growling. By the end of the half hour, the dog had moved closer to the kennel door, still wary but curious. Jason had been watching from a distance. He approached quietly. You have a way with him, he observed. No one's been able to get that close without him growling. We understand each other, Marcus said simply. We both know what it's like to make mistakes and hope for another chance. Over the next few weeks, Marcus divided his time between the film set and the shelter. On set, he worked hard and learned quickly, earning the respect of the crew. At the shelter, he focused particularly on Hercules, spending time with the dog each visit, slowly building trust. By the third week, Hercules allowed Marcus to enter his kennel. By the fifth week, Marcus was able to put a leash on him and take him for walks. The transformation in the dog was remarkable. He still had a long way to go, but he was making progress. Jason noticed the change in Marcus as well. The angry, frustrated man who had lashed out that day was gone, replaced by someone who approached every task with patience and purpose. "You've found your calling," Jason remarked one Sunday as they were closing up the shelter. Marcus smiled. "It feels that way. These animals, they don't judge you for your past mistakes. They only care about how you treat them now." People could learn from that, Jason agreed. As they were leaving, Linda approached them with excitement. "Great news. A family came in today interested in adopting Hercules." Marcus felt a mix of emotions, happiness that Hercules might find a home, but also sadness at the thought of saying goodbye to the dog he had bonded with. "That's wonderful," he said, trying to sound enthusiastic. Linda's face grew serious. "The thing is, they're a bit nervous about his history. They have 2 young children. I told them about how you've been working with him, Marcus. They'd like to meet with you before making their decision. Of course, Marcus agreed immediately. Anything to help Hercules find a good home. The following day, Marcus met with the family, a couple in their 30s with 2 children, a boy of about 8 and a girl who looked to be 6. They were kind but understandably concerned about adopting a dog with Hercules' background. "Tell us honestly," the father said. "Is he safe around children?" Marcus considered his answer carefully. "Hercules has come a long way. He's gentle when he trusts someone. But he needs a patient family who understands that he's still healing from his past." He looked at the children. "Would you both be willing to give him time and space when he needs it? To learn his signals when he's feeling scared or overwhelmed?" The children nodded solemnly. "Then I think Hercules would be very lucky to have a family like yours," Marcus said. "And I'd be happy to help with the transition. Visit a few times, show you the techniques that work best with him." The family decided to move forward with a trial adoption, with Marcus providing support as needed. When the day came for Hercules to leave the shelter, Marcus felt tears in his eyes as he said goodbye to the dog who had become his friend. "You're going to be okay," he whispered to Hercules. "They're going to love you so much." Jason, who had come to support Marcus, put a hand on his shoulder. "You did good, Marcus. You helped him find his second chance." Marcus nodded, wiping away a tear. "Just like you helped me find mine." 6 months passed. The movie finished filming, but Marcus stayed in the industry, finding work on other productions thanks to recommendations from Jason and the crew he had impressed. He continued volunteering at the shelter every Sunday without fail, working with dogs that other volunteers found challenging. One particular Sunday, as Marcus was finishing his shift at the shelter, Jason arrived with exciting news. "I've been talking to Linda about an idea," he said. "The shelter needs a full-time trainer to work with the difficult cases, dogs like Hercules who need special attention before they can be adopted." Marcus nodded. "That would be amazing for the shelter." "We want you to do it," Jason said simply. Marcus stared at him in surprise. "Me? But I don't have any formal training." "You have something better," Jason replied. "Natural instinct and personal experience. You know what it's like to need a second chance. That gives you insight that can't be taught." "But how would the shelter afford a full-time position? They run on donations." Jason smiled. "I've decided to become a major donor. Enough to fund the position and some facility improvements. But only if you'll take the job." Marcus was speechless. This was an opportunity to turn his volunteer work into a career, doing something he had discovered he loved. "I don't know what to say," Marcus finally managed. "Say yes," Jason encouraged. "This is what you were meant to do." "Yes," Marcus said, feeling like his life had come full circle. "Absolutely yes." As they walked out of the shelter together, Jason looked at Marcus thoughtfully. "You know, that day when you pretended to kick Max, I was furious. I almost walked away." "I'm glad you didn't," Marcus said quietly. "Me too," Jason agreed. "It would have been easier to judge you on that one moment. To see you as nothing more than a person who would frighten a helpless animal. But something told me there was more to your story." "Thank you for seeing that," Marcus said. "For seeing me. We all have moments we're not proud of," Jason said. "It's what we do after those moments that matters." As they reached their cars, Jason held out his hand. Marcus shook it firmly, grateful for everything that had happened since that terrible day that had turned out to be the beginning of a new life. The next weekend, Hercules and his new family came to visit the shelter. The once frightened dog was now confident and gentle, especially with the children who adored him. Watching them together, Marcus felt a deep sense of satisfaction. "Sometimes good things come from our worst mistakes," he thought. "Sometimes, when we least expect it, we get a second chance to become who we were always meant to be." And as he knelt to greet Hercules with a hug, Marcus silently thanked the twist of fate that had brought him to this moment, a thoughtless joke that had led to an unexpected lesson and changed his life forever.